Brighter Side of the News is brought to you by Fiesta Kia. Discover the all-new Fiesta Kia located in the I-10 Auto Mall.
All right, well, everyone loves a good stroll around the neighborhood, right? Well, that includes this pet llama who created quite the drama in Maine on Wednesday. The owner of Rebels Homestead opened the gate to do a little workout in the field. And that's when this llama named Jeffrey escaped. He kind of looks like a Jeffrey, doesn't he?
It's Jeffrey for sure.
Walked up the street, went to town. By the time animal control caught wind of the llama on the loose, Jeffrey had already walked back home. He knew what he was doing for the day. Just wanted a day out. Have you ever watched Emperor's New Groove?
I was just watching that cute llama's underbite. That's the cutest thing I've seen in quite some time.
They eat and they've got the little mouth going. It's pretty adorable. All right, well, that does it for us. Everybody have a great Friday. We'll send it on over to Fred with the Roggin Report.
All right.
Picture this. It is the beginning of October. 75 degrees, perfect Coachella Valley day. What do? You hit the tram for a lovely day on top of the mountain. Then you see it, a big black bear bearing down on you. What do you do? What do you do? Hey, happy Friday. We made it. Welcome in. Earlier in the week, we talked about Palm Springs passing an ordinance that would allow the homeless to be removed from public land. Can't sleep in public, no encampments. Police can remove them. Take a look. New ordinance in Palm Springs makes it illegal to set up an encampment or sleep anywhere on public property. The ordinance includes measures to help the police treat the homeless with dignity and respect their property. City Attorney Jeffrey Bollinger says the ordinance is not meant to criminalize homelessness. This is a notice period. Any property will be removed. Those affected will be told they can pick up their property, and the ordinance will not go into effect until the City Navigation Center opens its second phase. All right, our contributors, Chauncey Thompson and Doug Baker, offered this.
The key part here is remember what the police chief says. They're not going to arbitrarily just take somebody off the street who just parks down there. No, they're given a chance for shelter. They refuse it, they could be picked up.
I think the one thing that needs to happen is if one city's doing it, the other 8 or so cities down valley need to do the same, because I could see homeless saying, oh, well, Palm Springs won't allow us to go back, but Cat City and Rancho and Palm Desert, La Quinta, Indio, so on and so forth will allow us to.
Now, this is the first time an ordinance outlines procedures for the clearing of structures erected by homeless people and establishes fines and a potential 6-month jail term for violations. We reached out to the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission. They have no comment at the moment. We left a message in Martha's Kitchen. Haven't heard back. At the center of all this are human beings in need. Contributors tonight, Attorney Brian Harnick of Romer & Harnick and National Fitness Hall of Famer David Lyons. And David, we have missed you. It's good to have you back on the show.
Good to be here, Fred.
All right. Some feel this is harsh. Others feel it's overdue. Brian, how do you feel?
You know, you can't criminalize it. The court system can't handle it. They're not equipped. Police are not, you know, they're in a terrible situation. And the commentator that you just had on said it right. You can't just do it in one city, because if you make it so difficult in one city, it's just going to move down valley. Palm Desert, for example, they've hired a full-time social worker to deal with it. It is such a complicated problem, you can't have a one-size-fits-all solution. I'm concerned about taking people's property, throwing them in jail, fining them. You're not solving the underlying complicated problem of homelessness. You're kicking the can down the curb. You're putting it onto other burdens and other systems that can't handle it. The court system can't handle it. They're ill-equipped. So no, I don't think this is a good idea.
All right, David, what do you think?
Well, I actually disagree with that, because I think the city is doing what they need to do. They're directing the homeless people to the Homeless Navigation Center, and they're only going to make arrests after they refer that person multiple times and they refuse to go. You know, we need to have some type of laws in place. I think Palm Springs has this right, and we need to enforce the same ordinances throughout the valley, just like Chauncey had said.
All right, the ban can only be used if beds are open and the homeless person won't take it. Could you make the argument at times the homeless don't want to help themselves, David?
Well, yes. I mean, they're irrational at times. A lot of them are taking drugs, they're drinking, they're not thinking clearly. So they're not going to do what they should do for their benefit. And you see that all the time with homeless people that end up in real serious medical conditions because they're not taking care of themselves.
All right. Now, you tell me, is this a smart move, or might there have been a line crossed? A massive gay pride celebration takes over Palm Springs every November. People come from around the country and the world to celebrate it. So the mayor pro tem of Palm Springs fought against $300,000 enhanced funding to support the Palm Springs Art Museum free Thursday night. He was on the record as no. But then we learned the Greater Palm Springs Pride Executive Vice President Pete Grand also asked for $300,000. And the Greater Palm Springs Executive Vice President requested the same amount. Nothing wrong with that. Anything wrong with this? The mayor pro tem is the only paid employee of the Pride organization, and confirmed that Grand's request directly resulted from the conversation about the museum's funding. Mayor pro tem said Pride wanted to get our request in before other organizations after the council established a new threshold for supporting free community programming. Sounds a little like inside trader stuff to me, Brian. He fought against one, but then he made sure he got his request in for the other. Is that kosher?
Well, I know he recused himself, and that sounds right, but no, when it smells bad, you shouldn't be doing it. There's not only crossing the line, there's something called the appearance of impropriety that elected officials need to avoid. And this has the full appearance of impropriety. This is taxpayer dollars. Yeah, taxpayer dollars should be used to foster certain things. And if they decide that they want to foster a free night at the museum, so be it. They want to do, gay festival, free entry, that's up to them. But it's not their money, it's taxpayer money. And this just reeks of impropriety. It just looks bad because it is bad.
David.
Well, it sounds like to me a fight over lunch money. You know, this kid is getting subsidized, so he's getting subsidized, so you should give it to me as well, whether I deserve it or not. I just think this is foolishness.
Yeah, I do too. The museum wants the money to help subsidize free Thursday night entry. Pride wants it to subsidize free festival entry. Where or should the city draw a line, David?
Well, you know, look, the Pride community, it's a special interest group, just like my Christian community is. I don't expect taxpayers to help fund my events. I mean, this isn't money up for grabs. This is where the line has to be drawn.
Brian.
I agree completely. This is taxpayer dollars. It is not free money. This is money that people are paying for, and it shouldn't go to special interest events. This is taxpayer money, and our elected officials are in charge of spending it right and doing the things that they're supposed to be doing to better our communities, and this may not be it.
All right. So look, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Are you happy? Are you unhappy? Do you feel alone? There are a couple of different kinds of being alone. There's isolation or solitude. Isolation is not so good. Solitude can be invigorating. Being alone for its benefits, however, can contain a trap. Solitude inertia, in which good solitude inadvertently turns into bad isolation. If you're in a good mood, solitude away. If you're not in a good mood, think twice, because solitude could become isolation. I just said that. Do you have any idea what I just said? Heading into the weekend, there's never been a better time to be a good neighbor. Palm Springs, Michael's looking to donate some blankets, towels, and sheets. Glenn in Cat City is trying to locate Willis James. He's got some of his mail. Robert in Palm Desert wants to give a shout out to Comfort Air. In Bermuda Dunes, Robin needs some info on pearl necklaces. She inherited them and needs to identify. You know, you're always a good neighbor. If you see it, shoot it and send it. Remember our story about Susan Duncan left her car parked on the street for 72 hours in Palm Springs? It was towed. It cost her $2,200 to get back. That's not Susan's car. Michael shot this one and said, you know, I've been walking by this vehicle for 2 months, and it's still there. Scott Block should be a professional photographer. He offered this beautiful sunset last night in Cathedral City.
This show is for everyone, especially people that don't watch it.
Does that make sense? Please make sense of the show.
Find Fred on Facebook and Instagram at Fred Roggin or email thedesertdean@gmail.com.
Like it or not, you've got to face it. So what do when the music takes you? You've got to surrender to it, and you've got to face it. She had the moves. Coming up tonight in the program, what if you took the windmills on the 10 freeway and put them in the sea? Ever think about moving out of your house into a really teeny tiny one? And is being alone a good thing? All right, welcome back. When you're driving on the 10 heading into the valley, you always know you're almost home when you see that sea of windmills. Now picture that sea of windmills actually in the sea. That's the plan. California has just approved a plan to install hundreds of giant turbines, each as tall as a 70-story building, floating in the ocean about 20 miles off Humboldt Bay. So what's that going to cost? Billions of dollars. The Energy Commission's plan estimate that just to work to upgrade California's ports will cost between 11 and 12 billion, much of it publicly funded. That doesn't include the cost of the massive structures. Brian, is the cost worth it?
You know, we all want clean energy. We need energy. We don't have enough to electrify California, despite Sacramento telling us we have to. But we can't just blow it on an experiment. This is experimental technology with miles of underground cable. Who knows if it works or not? Terrible use of billions of dollars. Remember, we went from the biggest surplus to the biggest deficit in California history. We don't have the money, and no, we can't be spending it on a brand new technology that's not been done anywhere in the world before. Bad idea.
David, what do you think?
I agree 100%. You know, there's so many aspects to this project. In theory, you know, it's great to try to create more clean energy, but there's too many unanswered questions about offshore wind's potential effects on the marine life, the migrating whales, the birds, the onshore environment. And then there's the increased activity that's going to create gridlocks and added pollution with trucks and ships in that area. There's just too many unknowns.
You know, it's so funny. This is how things work, right? Somebody goes, hey, I got an idea. And they tell their buddy, they go, yeah, let's go with this. This is how we're going to do it. And it turns out to cost 4 times as much as they thought it would because nobody really thought it out at the beginning. And I have a question. How are they going to get the power from the sea to the shore? David, I don't think they figured that out yet.
Well, it's a great question. I don't believe that this has even been thought through fully to give you an answer. This is all ground floor. It's never been done before. You know, they're throwing darts at a dartboard.
Brian, you get the final word on this one.
Bad idea. They're talking about underground cabling under the sea for miles. It is untested, unproven, a total waste of taxpayer money. Nothing is free. Bad idea. Let's be sure something like this works. Let's find someone else to do it first. And if it works, great. I don't think it's going to.
All right, in April of this year, California fast food workers got a raise to $20 an hour. Some thought that was long overdue. Others envisioned higher food costs and calamity. We're 2 months in, and we've landed somewhere in between. Some restaurant owners are dramatically cutting hours to make up for the increase in pay. Experts say it's still too early to tell the long-term impact of the wage hike and whether there will be widespread layoffs and closures. The good news, past wage increases have not usually led to job losses. We'll have to see. I do know some of my favorite chains have raised prices. Others have introduced discount meals. Like most things, it takes a while to find a happy medium. Ever wonder what your dog is saying when they bark? What are they trying to say? Apparently, we can't escape AI. It's like something out of a 50s sci-fi novel. What did you say, Lassie? Timmy fell down the well? Well, I don't think it's any surprise that we love our animals here at the Roggin Report. And now scientists believe that they know what dogs are saying when they bark. They're using AI to let us know if a dog's bark is aggressive or playful. Maybe one day dogs will be able to communicate with us. I can tell you what they will say. Food, nap, and love. Know anybody who's built an ADU on their property? Basically, it's a small apartment that you can rent out and make money. An ADU is much smaller than your house. ADUs can be man caves or she sheds or playrooms. Or you can just move out of your home, downsize into your ADU and rent out your home. That's a trend that's taken over the West. Don't get an ADU mixed up with tiny homes. Tiny homes are usually mobile, less permanent. ADUs are built to last, and they're nice, but they're smaller than your home and certainly doesn't generate the kind of income that your home would. California homeowners applied for over 31,000 ADU permits last year. Would you consider building one, David?
Well, I have an ADU section of my house. I use it for guests. I don't rent it out. But I'm all for building one if it's something that you want to do.
What do you think, Brian?
This is a Sacramento mandate to address the housing crisis. They put a one-size-fits-all. They took away local control so anybody can build a tiny ADU. When we were younger, these were called mother-in-law flats, so you can have family living there. Now you can rent them out and use them without regard for, do we have enough energy? Do we have enough law enforcement, first responders? They took local control so everybody could build them. The concept is a good idea, but this one-size-fits-all is terrible. We should have local control because there are some places that shouldn't have ADUs because they can't support the infrastructure, the utilities, the police protection, the first responders, the ambulance. So it's a bad idea to have one-size-fits-all. It should be an individual basis, and we should go back to local community control. I personally don't want one. I like my room.
Okay, you know, I was just going to say, one of my sons lives in an ADU behind his girlfriend's parents' house. With a girlfriend. Okay, they're going to get married next year. I don't think I'd move out of my house into an ADU. Then I could turn around and rent my house for more. I don't think I would move from my house to an ADU to make more money. David, what do you think about that?
No, I think that's a really bad idea. And there's a lot of things that could go wrong with this whole thing. So you move out of your house, you move into an ADU, you rent your house out. And then what happens if you're stuck with a squatter who doesn't want to pay their rent? Then you've got all that legal stuff that you've got to get through just to get them out. Plus, you could have a lot of property damage by the time you go back into your home. Not a good idea.
Brian, final word?
Okay, there are a lot of people using them for short-term rentals. So, David, I love the legal stuff. I make a living off of it, but you're right. There are a lot of unintended consequences. This whole idea of adding to the rental pool is not the idea of the old mother-in-law flat or a family member or one of your kids developing independence. So, again, the idea of making money and moving in, it's got short-term rental implications, and it's got bigger issues that David just referenced. Again, it shouldn't be one size fits all. Let's get back to local control.
All right, guys. Great job tonight. Have a good weekend. Okay. What's the first thing they tell you to do if you see a bear? Well, stand still. Make yourself big. Never, ever run. What's the first thing we do when we encounter a bear? We run. Why do people run from bears? What? You really have to ask why? Someone really did a study on this. I can tell you why we run. We're scared. It's as simple as that. Okay, now, the study was really about how our brains process emotional stimuli. Its findings are published in Nature Communications. The researchers used advanced brain imaging techniques to analyze how portions of the brain respond to a wide range of emotional images. So next time you see a bear on El Paseo, you'll know why you're running from it. We're in the midst of a record-breaking desert summer. Let's see what the super weather forecast has for us today. Oh, that was good. All right. It's hot. Paul, the people's weatherman, the plumber, how does that make you feel?
Want to beat the heat? Turn your car's AC on full blast and pretend you're on a winter road trip.
When we come back, something indisputable.
We know you're smarter than we are. Please amaze us with your intellect. Tell us what you think. Find Fred on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fred Roggin. You can also email thedesertdean@gmail.com.
Hey, did you know the U.S. Treasury once printed $100,000 bills between December 18, 1934 and January 9, 1935. The notes with Woodrow Wilson's face were issued to Federal Reserve banks, but never went out to the general public. I'd like a few of those. How about you?
Yeah, I think we all would. All right, comment time. When is too much power a problem? Cliff has some thoughts. California's making too much electricity from solar sources, and basically they're dumping the overproduced power because they don't have any way to store it. Wouldn't it make more sense to use the solar-produced electricity first? And in the end, the purpose of solar is to go green. Steve sent us a comment about the troll that I blocked on my socials. I didn't see the exchange last night on social media, but glad you blocked the person who was being an idiot. We need more kindness and acceptance and unity. Laurie had this to say on the same subject. Great show. Is the heart making the trolls, or the heat making the trolls angry? They need to go back into their caves until December. You handled them eloquently. All the best. And on water restrictions, this note. I believe the city planners, from Dan, are extremely short-sighted. It is great for the city budget short-term. California is due for another 7 years of drought. When or if the water is no longer available to sustain the valley, home values won't be worth anything. I'm not moving yet, but. Okay. We appreciate you watching. Remember, NBC Palm Springs works 24/7. Go to the website. Click on the Roggin Report icon. At that time, it will take you to our show page. Everything in tonight's program will be up there, as well as content from our past programs as well. Really appreciate you being with us this week. Take care of yourselves. Stay hydrated. Be well this weekend. We'll get together again on Tuesday night. We'll talk to you then.